to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic week wherever you are on this planet of ours. I know sometimes life can get a little bit difficult and sometimes we can have our down days, but most of the time, I think most of us are pretty upbeat and sort of, just getting on with life, taking one day at a time and trying to do the very, very best that we can. And I think that's an important thing. If you can put a smile on someone else's face by doing a kind gesture or speaking to them or having a conversation or letting somebody in a queue, I think that's what we're all sent here to do, is to be kind to one another. And sometimes that takes an almighty effort because you don't feel well or you're not in a good humour or just very busy and very focused on where your life's going, but take the time to sort of acknowledge that other person that may be around you, because that might be the only bit of human contact or kindness that they get for a very, very long time. So be considerate of other people. So this week we've got an ambiguous sort of card for the Simply Tarot card of the week. It's called the Ace of Swords. Now, it's one of those cards that most of my students used to cringe when they used to see this card coming out. They'd say, oh, no, not that one again, because it is the card of frustration. Now, look, many times in our lives we have frustration. We have things that can put us in a bad mood or whatever. But frustration, I believe, is sent to make us to become more motivated. Sometimes when we have frustrations or blockages in our lives, it makes us take another route. It makes us have another look at the situation and say, why am I feeling so frustrated? Why am I feeling so weighed down with this? Is there another solution? Is there another way to look at things instead of just being frustrated and cranky and upset about it? Maybe I can find another way around the situation. Or is the universe trying to tell me that maybe I'm just a little bit premature? Maybe I'm ahead of time. Maybe I need to slow down and just let nature take its course. It also is the meaning of the double-edged sword. Now, it's very hard to see here on the screen, but one side of the sword has more foliage on it than the other, and that's where we get the double-edged sword from, because sometimes in life things are like a double-edged sword. Sometimes they can appear to be more deep or fatter or bigger than what they really are, and we're sort of making a mountain out of a molehill. And sometimes we just need to look at it and say, hang on a minute, it's maybe not as severe or maybe not as serious as what I first thought. Maybe I'm the one that's blowing it out of all proportion. The final part of this card is called the Hollow Victory. Now, again, it's very difficult to see on the screen, but the sword is actually going up through a crown. And that's where we get the interpretation of hollow victory. Now, a hollow victory means, yes, you've had a victory, but when it's all said and done, did you really gain out of it what you wanted? It seems to sort of be almost like, oh, well, okay, that's what it meant. I'm not celebrating. I'm not jumping for joy. I'm not jumping up and down because I've had a victory in the situation. Nobody's really won. And it feels quite hollow, or it feels as if it didn't feel as I thought it would. So just be aware of this card this week. This means that, we could be experiencing some frustrations. Be kind to people. Have your smile about you, and try and show a little bit of kindness at times when you might want to sort of yell and scream or jump up and down or be cranky or, scowl at somebody. Try and put a smile on your face instead. So this week, astrologically, it seems to be the last couple of weeks that the configurations or the planetary concentration has been in one concentrated area of the chart, and that has been true. It's been sort of only spread over 3 or 4 signs instead of the 12 signs. Now, this sometimes happens in astrology where everything sort of bunches up together and the intensity is sort of focusing in a very narrow version of the zodiac wheel. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's more intense or more powerful than any other time. It just means that's where the energies are concentrating at the moment. They're not spread out everywhere. It's not like flinging it for miles and miles and miles. We're only flinging it for a couple of inches. So we need to be sort of very aware of that. So it's really important that I think all the 12 signs really start to focus and listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. Everything that I'm about to say, I will put it in context of where it's going to affect the signs the most. It doesn't mean it doesn't affect the other 8 or 9 signs around the zodiac. It just means it's more watered down or less intense. So happy birthday to all the Pisces. We're well and truly into the Pisces time of the year, and I find this a really nice time of the year because it's when we can take a little bit of breath, we can sort of slow down a little bit. Not that I'm saying the Pisces energy is slow. It certainly is not, but it's a time when our creativity can come out. And that's why I mean by slow down, smell the roses, smell the coffee, allow your imagination to run wild, allow things to sort of percolate going on behind the scenes. This might be the time of the year when you get some really great creative ideas. May not be the time to put them into action, but certainly the time to jot them down, take notice of them, put them in your computer or on your device so that you can come back and visit it again when you've got a little bit more time. Because we only get this little pocket of creativity for such a short window. I wouldn't like to see you waste it. Now, this year, with the sun being in Pisces, we've got Saturn, the planet of discipline or structure in our lives, known as the father figure planet, is also sort of lending his hand to sort of trying to structure the creativity, trying to bring things in a more structured, organized sort of manner. If you've got to communicate with people, then make sure your presentations and things like that follow a sort of a formula. Time yourself, see how long it goes. Don't waffle on too long. Keep it concise and to the point. What is the important message that you're trying to share here in a presentation or a conversation? Have a little rehearsal, sort of look at yourself in the mirror and see what sort of strange faces you're pulling as you're doing it, because sometimes our face and our eyes can tell more than the actual words that are coming out of our mouth. So make sure that you're looking direct ahead, you're looking into that person's eyes. If you're approaching a room full of people, pick a spot on the wall that maybe is above somebody's head, so you don't seem as if you're looking straight through somebody's eyes, but you're having a conversation with that mark on the wall. You're remaining focused, your head's not wobbling all over the place, and you look like you're in control and you know what you're talking about. These are very important things to do if you've particularly got an important conversation or a presentation that you need to make, or even if you're having that conversation with a loved one and you know it's going to be tricky, and you know that by looking in their eyes you're going to make them feel uncomfortable. Just look above their eyes a little bit so that you're still focused on their eyes, but you're not making them feel so uncomfortable. It's a really important message. Now, we also have Mercury, the planet of communication, is also conjunct or holding hands, Neptune in Pisces also. So this is going to affect the water signs. Pisces, obviously, Cancer and Scorpio, but the opposite sign of Virgo. Now, it's also sort of then washing through in a more gentler approach to the other remaining signs. So with Mercury here, Mercury is the planet of communication. Now, when he's holding hands or conjunct Neptune, Neptune is a planet as known as affectionately as illusion or delusion, but it's also the planet of creativity in my mind. If we can't create something out of an illusion or look at something from a different lens, then how can we be creative? Sometimes delusion is probably not the right word. Delusion always means, to me, something that's sneaky or underhanded or devious. When I think of delusion, I think of sort of looking at it in a dreamy sort of way, of looking at it in a way that maybe no one else is looking at it. Let's try and look at it with a little bit more pizzazz. Let's try and put a different filter on it or a different lens so that we get a different distorted version of it maybe that might really work really well. So sometimes we've got to look at our choice of words here. So with Neptune here, very, very creative. So if we need to have a conversation that is of great importance or something that needs to be presented in a creative way, you have Neptune here helping you along with this. Mercury is going to give you that clear, concise, direct approach to communication. Now, people sort of tend to think of communication and they think of somebody just speaking something. Communication is singing, writing, sending a text message, an email, sending a letter, and communication can come in all forms. It's not always pleasant. So when we talk about communication, we can be talking about somebody yelling and screaming and shouting and jumping up and down and trying to get their message across. They're not always doing it in a pleasant fashion. So we have to make sure that our communication is very clear. And if we need to put a creative spin on it, or if we need to get across in maybe we need to approach it in a different way. If, sort of the direct approach isn't working with someone, you're hitting a brick wall, then maybe tone it down a little bit. Maybe try and make it a little bit more playful. Find a different way of communicating that then maybe we can just get our message across in a more dynamic sort of way, in a way that's suitable for everybody, and that the other person that's on the receiving end actually absorbs it, understands and gets the message clearly that you're trying to share with them. But don't forget to have your listening ears on. Communication is a two-way street. We need to listen to what the other person is saying, or understand what the other person is saying as well. Not just is our opinion important, so is theirs equally as important, if not more important. So that's how we keep a good flow of communication. We don't always have to agree with someone else, but we don't always have to be bombastic and bossy either. We can find a nice but firm way in communicating back and saying, hang on a minute, that doesn't quite suit me. Can you now look at it from my perspective for these reasons? And then we try and negotiate an outcome that everybody is sort of happy with. So we have Mars, the planet of action, is conjunct or holding hands Venus in Aquarius. So Aquarius is an air sign. Now, this is where we're looking for any air sign. We've got Aquarius, we've got Libra, and we've got Gemini. The opposite sign is Leo. So all the other remaining 8 signs, this is sort of, watered down a little bit. It flows out and it sort of gently only affects you. It doesn't affect you in the same intense way. So Mars is the planet of action. Mars is what makes us get out of bed of a morning. Mars is what gives us the drive that says, come on, get up, you've got to do things, you've got to get on with life. Now, with its conjunct or holding hands Venus, Venus is the planet of love and affection. Yes, that can mean where we look for love relationships in our chart, but it can also mean the things that we love to do, the things that give us pleasure, the things that make us smile, the things that, sort of really light up our lives. So with Mars here conjunct or holding hands Venus, if you are searching for love and you're one of those signs that I mentioned in the stronger signs of the air signs, and then it flows through to the others, then maybe you need to step out of your comfort zone. Maybe you need to be looking for love in different places. If you always only look for love in a setting where alcohol's served, then shake it up a bit. Go to the pictures, go to the roller dome, go 10-pin bowling, go to a concert in the park, do something different. Go somewhere that's not your normal situation. It may also be trying to share with you that maybe, just maybe, we need to be looking for a different type of relationship. Maybe the relationships of the past are in the past because they didn't work, because there were so many things that didn't gel or weren't right, or you weren't right for each other, or you had too many different ways of viewing the world that you couldn't agree on anything. So this time we need to be looking for somebody that has a different slant, that has a different outlook, that somebody that maybe might better suit you. And sometimes opposites do attract, and attract really well, because that other person can sort of jolt you out of your comfort zone a little bit. But there needs to be some common ground. Even opposites that it do attract have some common ground at the reasons why they're drawn together to begin with. So we don't want somebody that's completely opposite or foreign to you, but we want somebody that's going to make you think, that's going to make you step out of your comfort zone a little bit, that's going to sort of bring some sparkle into your life, that's going to motivate you and get you out of, your rut and sort of say, let's look at things in a different way. So if you are seeking love, sort of maybe step out of your comfort zones, take up a new hobby, do something different, try and widen your circle of friends so that you're mixing with different and more interesting people. And when I say more interesting, I'm talking about people that are going to expand your mind, that are going to open you up in some way. And that's why I'm saying they're more interesting, because they're not the same people telling you the same things that you want to hear, or being kind to you because they know that's all you want. If it's somebody brand new, they don't know the boundaries yet, so they're open and they're more flexible, and they sort of just be themselves more, and then over time we establish the boundaries of a friendship or a potential relationship. We've got the part of fortune, which isn't actually a planet but is an Arabian part of astrology, which sort of says to us where we're looking to seek not so much fortune as in money, but where we're looking to sort of find ourselves, our fortune in ourselves. What are we good at? Where are we going? What is it that we need to do? Now, we've got the part of fortune is also conjunct or holding hands, Pluto and Aquarius, so it applies to the air signs that I mentioned previously and not so much to the others. So here, what the part of fortune is asking us to do is to sort of dig deep into our soul and sort of start to look at the areas of our lives that might need to change, so that we can then start to become the person that we want to become. Now, with Pluto going to be in Aquarius for a very, very, very long time, Aquarians are going to go through a lot of changes over the time. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to change in their lives. Things that were important now may not be important in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the track, but that's okay. That's the evolution evolution process. So we need to just sort of work with that and say, okay, I'm open to change. I'm open to suggestion. I'm open to looking at what might be my part of fortune. What's the things that are going to make me happy? What are the new areas of my life that I want to encompass and bring to fruition? So that will then be that maybe the stage is changing on what's important to you. And finally, I want to talk about the moon. The moon moves very, very fast in the zodiac, only stays in a sign for 2.5 days. But at the moment, the moon is in Capricorn. So for the whole 12 signs, you might feel a little bit, as if your emotions are a little bit flat at the moment. That's okay, because what the moon wants you to do is to ground your emotions. It wants you to sort of take the edge off things, to sort of make things feel a little bit more grounded, sort of more practical, more logical, that you can sort of keep your emotions in check a little bit more. It's not the time where everything's sort of flying off the handle and emotions are erratic and everywhere. It's like somebody's come in and sort of said, let's just put a halt on the emotions for the moment. So let's just ground them, calm them down, so that we can start to look at areas of our lives that need sorting out. We're going to take our first caller, which is Leah in Lubbock in Texas. Are you there, Leah?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Leah?
Well, I'm not even sure, where to begin. I recently lost my boyfriend, and I'm just kind of having a really hard time moving on from that. I mean, it was very unexpected, and it's been almost 3 months, and I can't seem to move forward. It's it.
Okay, Leah. Leah, look, I'm really sorry that you lost your boyfriend. It's always hard when we have a loss, and I think you're being a little tiny bit hard on yourself. 3 months isn't very long, sweetie, to try and sort of revamp your life and move forward and find some sort of joy out of life again. I mean, grief is a very personal thing, and it's something that I think as a society we sort of tend to think, oh, well, they've lost somebody, we've had the funeral, we'll give them a week or two to get over it, and then it's like life is supposed to be back in the fast lane and back to normal. Well, that's not how it is in reality if you're the one that's lost somebody. And it's something that over the years I've worked with many, many people that have had loss, and I've been through loss too, and it's a very, very personal thing. And the first 12 months, to me, it's like you walk around in a little bit of a daze. Some days are good and some days aren't so good. But the thing is, in that first 12 months, you can relate back to what you were doing at this time last year, particularly if it's a special event like Easter or a birthday or an anniversary, or we went on holidays. And it sort of brings everything, you can be going along great, and then all of a sudden, thud, you go back to almost like the very beginning of your grief, and you think, am I ever going to climb out of this dark hole? Let me assure you, you will. I think you need to honour this. You need to respect it. You need to not be so hard on yourself. And, if you have one of those down days or a down week or a down month, that's okay. Allow yourself to do that. I don't think we allow ourselves as a society enough time to grieve the people that we've lost. It's part of the process that we are allowed to be sad, and there'll be times when you'll be downright angry with him. And, you might want to yell and stamp your feet and jump up and down and say, how dare you leave me? And they're all normal parts of grief. And we don't talk about it enough. We don't educate our society that there's so many different stages of grief. We just sort of think, oh, well, you've had the celebration of life. You've done the funeral, you've done this, you've sorted out the clothes, get on with it. It's not that simple. Yeah. And, it's one of those things that people sort of almost avoid you because they don't know what to say. They don't want to upset you. They don't understand by you bursting into tears or laughter or whatever it might be is actually healthy, is helping the process of grief. So then they avoid you. And then you feel even more isolated, and you sort of, you feel even more alone. This is when you need your family and friends the most, but people don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And strangely enough, in my own experience, I termed it this way. They don't want to catch it. They don't want to catch that, oh, gee, she lost somebody. And I know that sounds strange, but it's almost the only way I could cope with it and understand it, that why would people that supposedly care about you all of a sudden avoid you like the plague? And that's the only terminology I was able to put on it. And through the years I lost my husband when I was only 28, and through the years I learnt by working with people that a lot of people shared the same information with me, that they did feel like that. They felt like that they had the plague or, these days COVID-19, and people avoided you. And it's really hard to understand
Yeah.
that. What I can guarantee you, Leah, is that he is safe. He is okay on the other side. You've got to understand, if he hasn't come through with a message yet, or you haven't had a dream about him or whatever, maybe he's struggling on the other side, coming to terms with the fact that he's gone. They go through a grieving process on the other side too, as their soul moves
Right.
through the journey on the other side. And they've lost all of us. We've lost one person. And sometimes that's even hard to understand. Oh, well, I thought we were so close and we both had an understanding of the life hereafter, and why haven't they come through? It can take years sometimes, sweetie. So don't put anything on a bus timetable. Put it on when it happens. It'll be great. And just know that he's there with you. He sees everything that's going on. Was there a favourite chair that he used to sit in, like an armchair?
I can't.
The reason I'm asking,
I can't really.
he was showing me an armchair in the corner of a room where there was a window behind it, and I wasn't sure what that message meant. It may not come to you at the moment. It may be something that you'll think about later and think, oh, yeah, that's what she meant. Oh, yes. That was the only message he was showing me, was this armchair in the corner, which looked to me like a sunroom or, a porch or something that's covered in with glass or a screen or something like that, because I could see the sunlight coming in. And he was sort of saying to me, if you sit in that chair, you'll feel me. So that was his message. And you got to appreciate.
I know. I do.
You do know? Well, that's what he was sharing with me.
I think so. Okay.
He wants you to sit in that chair. And it doesn't matter if you cry, sweetheart. It's okay. He'll be crying along with you. So if you just sort of understand that and go with that, I think you'll find some comfort, and just know that he's around you, sweetie. Unfortunately, I've got to move on to the next caller, but I'll keep you in my prayers, sweetheart.
Okay.
We're going to talk with – you're very welcome, sweetie. We're going to talk with Cheryl in Houston, Texas. Are you there, Cheryl?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yeah, I just wish I could talk to my dad.
Okay, it's not always possible to just sort of dial up the other side and, like we can dial our cell phones here on Earth and sort of connect with who we want to. What they are showing me, Cheryl, is that there's a lot of endings, changes and transformations coming up around you at the moment. Do you feel like you're in a period of transformation at the moment?
Yeah.
Has there been a number of endings in this last 6 months where you've sort of stood there and sort of thought, what's next? Because that's what they're showing me. It's like it's a time of not everything's going to flow as easily or be there as much as you might like it to be, but it's like if something's completed and you haven't got something else to take its place, be thankful for that. Just enjoy that sort of bit of a void and sort of say, okay, well, I don't have to sort of move on to the next project yet. Did your dad have a real sense of humour when he was here on Earth? Like a bit of a joker?
No, he's not. Can you come again, please?
I said, was your dad, did he have a good sense of humour?
Yes. Well, he was kind of a little bit reserved, but yes,
well,
he did have a sense
telling me he had a great sense of humour, that he made everybody laugh. Maybe not everybody understood it, but he thought it was funny.
No, he was very reserved. He didn't talk to anyone so much. It was just only a few words. He was a man of few words, I would call.
Yeah, but in his mind, he had this amazing sense of humour. That's what he's sharing with me. He had this smile on his face that it was sort of like he had the play going on in his mind, but nobody else saw it. And then he keeps saying to me, I had a great sense of humour. It's just nobody else understood it, probably because he didn't share it with anyone. He didn't share the words, but he's certainly around you.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps showing me a new place of, are you planning on moving? Because he keeps telling me that there's going to be somewhere new to live before the year is out.
No, this is my house. And before I got married, I was back at my parents' house. So this is the only house I have been staying.
Right. No, he's still telling me there's going to be a move or a change. You're either going to drastically change where you are or you're going to move. And he keeps saying to me before the year is out. So I don't know whether he
That's
means
interesting.
this calendar year or, within 12 months was more how I took it. Before a year is out, there's going to be a massive change. He keeps telling me you're a little bit stubborn.
Little bit stubborn.
Yes, that's what he tells me.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit, maybe, yes. To some extent, yes. I'm a little bit stubborn. And it gets
Well, I
to
don't know.
work, yes.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with being a little bit stubborn. He was sort of sharing that with me in a playful, sort of loving sort of way, as if he was sort of sharing with me that, you're a chip off the old block. You're a little bit stubborn like he was, but yet he wouldn't admit he was stubborn.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I took on my dad on that.
Stubborn. Yeah, he was never
Yeah,
stubborn. He was always right, but he was never stubborn.
No, he was very stubborn.
I know he was, but he's telling me he wasn't. See, that's his interpretation of how he is, not necessarily how it really was, but that's his interpretation. He's saying, you're a little bit stubborn like me. Well, I'd take that as a compliment, because if you're a little bit stubborn like him and he wasn't stubborn at all, well, okay, good. He's got a beautiful smile on his face. It's sort of like, again, you told me he wasn't a man of many words here on earth. Well, he's certainly not a man of many words at the moment either, but he's got this like half a smile all the time, as if he knows more than what he's letting on. Was he like that here on earth? Like even though he didn't say much, he sort of, you always felt there was more going on in his mind?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, he's got a few things up his sleeve for you, and he keeps saying to me, you ain't seen nothing yet. So I only take it from that with the smile on his face, he's got some wonderful plans for you. He is around you. He's constantly with you, and he wants you to know that he loves you and he misses you. And yeah, and he's not stubborn at all, neither are you. So I'll leave you with that. We've come to the end of the show. That was really nice to sort of connect with people on the other side and to try and help people. This week I want to leave you with a song that's a very, very old song, and it's always interesting how the song either comes to me during the week or as I'm getting ready for the show and sort of looking at astrologically what's happening. A song will come into my mind or something will lead me to something. I never really plan a particular song unless it's been driving me nuts all week. And today before the show, I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. Nothing has sort of come to me, and I was doing the astrological report, and all of a sudden this song popped into my mind. So I'm going to share it with you. It's called Still by the Commodores. And the Commodores' lead singer was Lionel Richie. And I think it's one of the most beautiful love songs that was ever written, that he still loves her no matter what. And I think that's a very appropriate message for everybody that listens and watches the show after the show, whether it's live or later on advice, but particularly for the two lovely ladies that I worked with today that have had such loss. I think it's a direct message from your loved ones to say, I still love you. So until next week, bye for now.